you don't realize that if there's an NXT TNA partnership that is a WWE TNA partnership and AAA becomes, part of the extended WWE family, then technically the AAA and TNA, it all works together. All these promotions are all in some way, shape, or form working together. So the idea that you could have somebody, and that's kind of what I meant, and I wonder if that permeates more than we realize it does. That, like, instead of being in a position now where wrestlers have to figure out, where they should go next, what's the hot territory, what's the hot company, I'm doing this right now, I don't think they really value it here, but maybe if I go over there. Like, I would imagine being in TNA right now, you kind of just go like, okay, what's happening tomorrow? You know what I mean? There's just so much potential. And I get it. Like, you also want to get the biggest check you can get, and you should be trying to get the biggest check that you can get. But realistically, when you're in a spot where it's like there is potential to work with God only knows who, to work God only knows where, and you don't have to worry about, changing your contract, impressing that person, impressing this person. It's just this sort of fluid, moving body of companies. It's really cool, but also incredibly unique from the perspective of like WWE, TNA, AAA, all that stuff. And even over in AEW, the fact that like AEW, New Japan, CMLL have some flotation going on in between all three. It's and who knows, by the way, who knows if that would have happened. That's why, when AEW first started and it was looked at as competition and people, what was the quote? A rising tide raises all ships. What does that actually mean? Well, that can mean something like this, where stuff that you would never think would happen and never really had happened. You'd have companies working with independents. You had, WWE cooperating with ECW or like Smoky Mountain or USWA or whatever. But in terms of like these sort of bigger mainstream companies, it didn't really happen. I mean, that's the whole Forbidden Door concept was based on the fact that it didn't really happen. And now it's happening. And wrestling is just in a very, very healthy place. Well, if you want to call the show, it's 877-344-4893 here on Notsam Wrestling, 877-344-4893. And we didn't talk about it too much last week, but Tuesday's NXT ends with the melee that we were waiting for, seeing all the TNA stars in the parking lot at the beginning of the show. I love that they set the scene, that they slowly set the scene, that this is all happening. Just stay tuned through the whole episode, because we've been waiting, I think, and I say we as fans, we've been waiting to see kind of the TNA NXT quote-unquote relationship explode, as all wrestling relationships should. But you can't advertise it. You can't have like Vic Joseph saying, and by the way, stay tuned, TNA will be invading later on tonight. Like, you can't do that. I mean, that kind of takes away all the hype and suspension of disbelief. But what you can do is, from the very beginning of the show Matt Cardona lingering in the parking lot. Show Eric Young and Moose lingering in the parking lot. Go back and as matches are happening, show this TNA wrestler and that TNA wrestler kind of walking through the PC, and Steve Macklin is in the crowd, and Zia Brookside is in the crowd. All this, it's all slowly happening. What is that? What is this? Here comes Mike Santana. And then all of a sudden you get to this main event. And this main event is the match, is the specific match that the TNA talent takes umbrage with. But I think that match is the bridge too far, where they've been saying, look, I don't like that WWE guys keep coming in here and taking our titles. I don't like this. And, as with any partnership, fans are going to start saying, well, is TNA getting as much out of the partnership as NXT? Is this, is that? And my opinion is, yeah, obviously they are. But the fact that that's a conversation is great for a narrative. And you can create this idea that TNA is still that scrappy upstart company, and NXT is still the machine. And you can kind of create this dynamic where the TNA guys and girls do have something that they're angry about. So we get to this match that Grayson Waller made and Ava approved, which is the NXT versus TNA championship match between Oba and Trick. And, of course, before the commercial break, Mike Santana pops out of the crowd, decides to join Booker T and Vic Joseph on commentary. And I kind of like that, because at first I was like, why are these TNA guys just allowed to walk around the Performance Center? Like, the doors are wide open. They just get to walk around, sit in the audience. Nobody's stopping them. And you go, well, these TNA wrestlers have been wrestling on every show. They've been popping up on every show. NXT wrestlers show up on TNA shows all the time. So part of that partnership is an open door policy. And I go, okay, I can buy it. And Mike Santana jumping over the rail. Well, why would they just let Mike Santana jump over the rail? Well, because Mike Santana has wrestled in NXT before. This is not like, who is this from the TNA show? This is somebody who's wrestled on NXT television before. So if any other wrestler can come out and join commentary, which a precedent has been set for, why can't Mike Santana? And you go, okay. And that's the kind of unease where you go, well, I guess they can. I guess there is a partnership, but this thing is boiling over. They're mad about this match, and they're looming. They're not hanging. They're looming. If you're with friends, right, and all your friends are hanging, that's a good vibe. But if your friends are looming, that's a bad vibe. Okay? Like, if you're all hanging, that's just you and your boys hanging out. But if it's looming, that's like you thought it was a hang, but it's like some Sopranos stuff happening where everybody around you is on the same page, and it's not a good page for you. That was the vibe that you got from the TNA wrestlers. So, of course, all hell breaks loose. Trick threw the first punch. Let history state, Trick hit first. Trick threw the first slap. Mike Santana responds with a closed fist, and here we go. The fight has started. The whole TNA roster explodes from the audience. Matt Cardona pops out of the audience, who got a pretty big pop, by the way, when he showed up. And then the ring fills up with everybody, and it's a melee of all melees. Then you go to this weekend, and at Victory Road, you have Ash by Elegance, which I think surprised everybody, coming out to the ring and announcing that she wasn't going to be able to physically compete. I don't know why that is, but I certainly hope it'd be a real bummer if it was something that she wasn't going to be able to get past. It's a bummer at all to see somebody like Ash, who has worked so incredibly hard at this, to finally get to a place where she is a world champion. And I mean, when she finally gets to that place, it's like she's got to step away. It's a real bummer. It's part of the rough part about pro wrestling, that sometimes those things happen, but what comes out of it is Kalani Jordan enters a battle royal. They do the old Razor Ramon, Rick Martel Monday Night Raw rules, where the final two in the battle royal compete for the vacated championship. And boom, we get Kalani Jordan as the new TNA Knockouts champion. So just as we've gotten past the idea of NXT having both championships from TNA on their show, just as we've gotten out of that, Kalani Jordan comes back in and takes the Knockouts championship back. And then we get to No Mercy, which we have a lot to talk about with No Mercy. But Ava makes the announcement that they are bringing back Invasion. They've brought back No Mercy. They brought back Halloween Havoc. They brought back Great American Bash. And now Invasion. The one-off pay-per-view is no longer a one-off pay-per-view because we're getting an Invasion television special. Now, when Invasion actually happened, it was not the beginning of the Invasion. It was not fully the blow-off. The Invasion blow-off didn't really happen until the Survivor Series of that year. But it wasn't the first kind of battle. Whereas here, I had figured that maybe Invasion would be like NXT's November PLE. But they're not wasting any time. Ava says they're doing Invasion on October 7th, which is a week from Tuesday, right? It's the next NXT television after Tuesday. And that they're going to make 2 Survivor Series style matches, which, if we're going traditional, 5-on-5, not 4-on-4, 5-on-5. A 5-on-5 for the guys, a 5-on-5 for the girls, NXT on one side, TNA on the other side. They're also going to do title for title, winner take all, Dark State versus the Hardys. And then she said, and it was so funny, all the Twitter geniuses were like, Ava spoiled the result. Because she said, after what happened with Trick Williams and Obafemi, we're going to do that match with no interference. And they said, so now we know Ricky Saints is losing tonight. And then, of course, Ricky Saints won on that particular evening. So I don't know if Ricky Saints gets put into that match or if they're still doing Oba. But we've got a full-on Invasion show happening. I think... Actually, can you listen? Let's listen to Ava's announcement so I can hear exactly how she phrased the Oba and Trick Williams match. If you listen to the way she phrased it, she's not necessarily saying it's Trick versus Oba. I take that as because of what happened with Trick versus Oba, there will be no interference in Hardys versus Dark State. Does that make sense? Like, that's how okay. That bell means I'm right. That's how I read that, because I saw on Twitter, everyone's like, oh, it's Oba versus Trick. Oh, she just spoiled the main event. Oh, and I'm like, I don't even think she said Oba versus Trick. So it sounds to me like interference is banned in that tag match. Maybe we'll still get Oba versus Trick. I don't know. But it sounds to me like interference is just banned in the tag match. I've got to believe that the Hardys are going to take it all. Because I can't fathom that. I mean, because won't Bound for Glory be like that coming weekend? So why would the Hardys lose the tag team championship on the Tuesday before Bound for Glory? I can't fathom that that's going to happen. So I feel like the Hardys go into Bound for Glory in their match with the Dudleys with both the NXT and the TNA Tag Team Championship. And then, I don't know, man. I think the men's match, I feel like, is what ends in the melee. I think you're going to have to get another melee, because there's no way you're telling me that they're finally doing this Invasion. I can't wait for it, by the way, but that they're finally doing this Invasion, and they're like, yep, we're going to do an Invasion, and then 2 weeks later, we're going to do a TV show, and then we're going to move on. Like, I can't buy that. I feel like there is too much meat on this bone. I also feel like after the championship match at No Mercy, it gives both Obafemi and Ricky Saints something new to do. It gives Ricky Saints the positioning of, I'm the NXT champion, I'm the guy, so I'm the one defending the honor of this promotion, theoretically. And it allows Obafemi to kind of be the enforcer of NXT. I think a lot of people were asking, what do you do with Obafemi if he's not the NXT champion? Is he getting called up right away? And I don't think that that's necessarily going to happen. I think he should be called up, and we can talk about what my ideas are for him getting called up. But I think that most of the time in NXT, the champion loses the title, and then they have another story before they get called up. I mean, look at Trick Williams. He was the NXT champion. He lost the title. He didn't get called up. There was this TNA story to be told. And I think that generally people benefit. Like, Braun Breaker benefited tremendously from not getting called up right away, from instead doing that other story and the run with Corbin, and then he's really ready to get called up. So I think Oba ends up as a key player on this team NXT. It's interesting with Ricky because, and honestly with the Knockouts Championship as well, because we already have, NXT already has those titles. So there's no sort of, like, you wouldn't do Trick Williams versus Ricky Saints. I mean, you could, but it wouldn't really make a huge difference if we already have those championships. The same way you could do Kalani Jordan versus JC Jane, but it kind of defeats the purpose of the Invasion if the TNA champions in those cases are already NXT stars. So I think ultimately you look at the tag team match and you look at the two Survivor Series matches. Now, you also saw Javon Evans show up on the Titantron at Victory Road and challenge for the X Division Championship, Leon Slater, which that's going to be great. But I mean, man, to be Javon Evans over the weekend, he's on NXT, has a standout match with Sami Zayn. On the same night, he's on the big screen at Victory Road challenging for creating a challenge for the X Division Championship. And then the next night, he's on No Mercy having an incredible match with Josh Briggs that he wins. So, I mean, and I tweeted something about this. If there was one person to invest in over the next 20 years, Javon Evans is it. Javon Evans is like the best right now. But I wonder if you do your Javon Evans X Division Championship match at Invasion. If you bring that in and do it, you could either do it at Invasion, or if you want to give a little rub to Bound for Glory, you could also do it at Bound for Glory, theoretically. I mean, having Javon Evans on the show, I think, would be good. But, it would make sense. I think it's so interesting, too, with all the fallout happening. Like, you've got to believe something happens on this Invasion show that will lead directly to Bound for Glory. Because the same way that ECW invaded Raw in February of 1997 to help push people towards Barely Legal, which was in April of 97, you don't have months, you have days. But I think that this Invasion show will act as a go-home for Bound for Glory.